Do you remember when we used to have graduation ceremonies in auditoriums and in churches and in large venues and not on Zoom? Well, I attended one of those graduation ceremonies pre-COVID. The commencement speaker was a lady who travels all over the world. The only difference between the way she and most of us travel is that she rows across oceans. Seriously. I thought she was joking when she first said that she rows across oceans. But it turns out she's now rowed across the ocean several times. The Atlantic, the Pacific, just her in a boat, rowing her way across the ocean. And so she uses this platform from rowing across oceans to share about God's earth and the importance of keeping it green. What was interesting is when she told us how she came to rowing oceans. She was living a fairly typical life until one day she decided to write two eulogies about herself. The first one was the life that she was living now. And she predicted the rest of her life by writing it out the way it was going at that point. She wrote it honestly. Then she decided to write another eulogy. This one would be read at her funeral if she did what she really wanted to do, what she was passionate about. And somehow that led her to rowing across oceans. So if you could write the eulogy for your future funeral, what would it say? Don't answer it with what you want it to say. What it would say if it was brutally honest about how you live your life. Fast forward in the future years, whether you think it would be 5, 20, or 50 years. What would you write about you if you had to write the truth and you couldn't sugarcoat it? When faced with a question like this, a lot of us go into denial. We think lines like, he was a pretty good guy. He knew how to make people laugh, but he didn't really live quite how he wanted to. That's rarely what any of us believe about ourselves. So let's take a look into the mirror and let's slow down for a moment to think on this a little bit. What would your eulogy be like if you lived from this day on the way you want to live? Not that there wouldn't be hiccups or potholes in the road, but you choose how you face life every day and what you do with it. What would you want to say? Imagine what would be possible. Sometimes you can start thinking thoughts about yourself like, he really tried hard in life, but he just didn't have what it takes. Or she really wanted to live a life of love, courage, and faith, but she just wasn't good enough. That's not what this is about. Those, by the way, are lies that you may have embraced as a truth in your life. But embracing a lie doesn't make it true. That's not what God says about you. Take those thoughts and let them fall to the ground. This is the time to dream for a little bit. What would it like for you to live the life that you really want to live, that you know God wants you to live? What would you do? How would you live? Who would you share your life with? Who would you give your heart to? What would you give to them? How would you love? What kind of a life do you want to live? What kind of marriage do you want to have as you're living this life? Give yourself some time to reflect on this and grab a pen and a paper and write 2 eulogies. Write the first with your life as it is and write your second with what you want your life to be. What will you do in your life now that you're living with that end in mind? How will you love? What kind of marriage will you choose? What will you refuse to do now that you've identified what you want? As you pursue Christ and enjoy the freedom of sharing the desires of your heart with Him. He knows our hearts, and He loves to treat us like His children.